The Materials and Interface Engineering Lab works on three different aspects: energy storage, growth and application of 2D materials, and photoelectrocatalysis. Now, the lab members will walk you through.
Hi all, myself Narayanan. I am a faculty here at TFR Center for Interdisciplinary Sciences, Hyderabad. And our lab for the last few years, say example 5 to 6 years, working on various aspects of energy. This includes energy storage, harvesting, and so today I'll be explaining how do we do some of these energy storage devices. So you have all seen batteries in various forms. So our students Pallavi and Amar will be demonstrating how a very common lithium ion battery that you can see in all your portable electronic equipments work, and how do you develop these kinds of lithium ion batteries in lab. So for example, this is a lithium ion chip cell, and this has a voltage of 3 volt, and this is works really as a battery, as you see in your portable electronics. And now Pallavi and Amar will be demonstrating how we can really make these kind of batteries from scratch.
This is the working mechanism of lithium ion battery. What you see in orange is a negative charge anode, in green positive charge cathode, in blue is a electrolyte, in grey is a separator which prevent the contact between both electrodes. During discharging, which means we are drawing power from battery, in that anode lithium get oxidized and generate electrons which flow from the outer circuit, whereas lithium ions move from anode and intercalate in cathode. During this process, current is generating and you can see the light is glowing. So as Tinan told, lithium ion battery is a highly interested research topic because of its high specific capacity and the discharge voltage. As we know that the first commercial lithium ion battery came in 1991 by Sony. After that, researchers are trying to improve their capacity by changing their by improving their components and the electrolytes as well. So here we are demonstrating the lithium ion battery as a half cell. So battery assembly is done inside this argon-filled glove box where oxygen and water content is very low. Our components are already inside this glove box, and they are positive case, a graphite cathode, separator, lithium anode and electrolyte, a spacer, spring, negative case. Let's start the assembly. Here we are keeping graphite electrode on positive case first. Then we put separator to avoid contact between two electrode. Then we are putting lithium rich electrolyte. After that we are putting lithium metal. Then spacer and ring to make better contact between two cases. Now I am putting negative case. Now I am closing it by finger to ensure that battery is sealed. We are applying hydraulic pressure. Let's take it out our sample. Battery looks fine. Let's check their OCV, and its OCV showing 3 volt, which is good. And to check further, we are putting on a holder, and you can see this LED is glowing. It means it's working.
Hi guys, you have already seen the assembling of lithium ion batteries, which which you use in your mobile phones, toys and gadgets. Lithium is one of the most reactive elements that we know today, and in addition to this, the organic electrolytes that we use for the assembling of lithium-ion batteries, they are prone to combustion. So this makes the whole system very unsafe, and it's difficult to travel with these batteries. So there are, what could be the other alternatives which could replace these lithium-ion batteries? These include the aqueous electrolyte based batteries, which has electrodes such as zinc, aluminium, iron or copper. So I want to point out one more disadvantage of lithium-ion battery, which is its low energy density. Now you can think energy density in terms of energy stored in unit weight of the sample. If we think about all this, there comes another category of batteries that could actually replace the lithium-ion batteries. This category is the metal air battery, where one of the component of the battery is replaced by the air itself. So we get a high energy density which could run our vehicles or cars without consuming lot of material or inbuilt reactants. So today I'm going to demonstrate you the assembling of metal air batteries. Now I'm going to show you the main components required to assemble a metal air battery: a zinc anode, a separator, electrolyte, and a platinum coated carbon paper, which is the cathode. Now the zinc anode, we'll put it first, which act as a negative electrode, and then we'll put separators to avoid the contact between two electrodes. Now we'll add few drops of this alkaline electrolyte, which is 6 molar potassium hydroxide. We'll put the second electrode, which is the cathode, at the top and cover it with a carbon felt, which will help to diffuse oxygen better. After sealing this cell, we'll start the oxygen flow from the top. Oxygen gas will reduce at the cathode, which will act as another electrode, and you can see this oxygen bubbles coming out of the cell. Now let's see what's the OCV of the cell. Now it is 1.42 volts. This is the battery tester analyzer that we use in our lab to test the performance of a battery. The cells are connected to it, and we see their charge-discharge performance here. We fix a particular current or a voltage here, and we see their current, that is the discharge profile, or the voltage profiles. As you can see here, the cell has started discharging with a constant current. We can calculate the specific capacity as well as the energy density from these values. We can also check the long-term cyclability of our metal air cells. As you can see here, there are many number of cycles that this cell has run for.
As we know that petrol, diesel and nuclear energy all are non-renewable energy. So scientists always looking for the best way to harvest energy from the renewable energy source. In renewable, best energy source is the solar energy source. Okay. For storing the solar energy source, we need two systems. One is solar cell, which convert solar photo energy into electricity. For storing this energy, we need other system which is called battery, which converts electricity in the chemical energy, and that we can use further. Having two systems increase the cost for storing the solar energy by increase the weight, cost and the complexity. So we need to improve these things. Here we are make the photo rechargeable battery, which actually stores solar energy directly into the chemical energy. So here there is no need of solar cell. This is low scale photo rechargeable battery. Here we are charging by the light, and this is the large scale photo rechargeable battery. This is in discharging mode. So this is the discharge curve. Okay, this we discharge from the constant current, and then after discharging we put light here, and it shows that after putting the light there is enhancement in the potential, which shows that this photo rechargeable battery actually converts solar energy into chemical energy.
This era belongs to electronic devices like mobile phones, cameras, laptops and all. In this field, people are mostly using silicon-based 3D materials as a semiconducting material. But to get rid of that problem, because that has already reached a limitation, to get rid of that problem, people are searching for different type of semiconducting materials like transition metal dicirculares and different things. In this regards, we are also trying to grow this type of 2D thin layers in our labs using this furnace. This is the furnace we use to grow different TMDs. These are two thermocouples. This is the quartz tube. These are the controllers. We can control the temperatures from here. Then these are the channels which we can send carrier gases. This is called chemical vapor deposition process. In this furnace, what we used to do for different TMDs, we used to put different material in different temperature. Then we'll pass different gases and we'll set different temperatures. Then we'll get the film, which will be 2D in nature. To see that, we'll characterize that in using Raman tech range and microscopes. So we'll go there.
So whatever material that we are growing there, this is the film that we have actually grown. But as they are the 2D materials, you cannot see them by eyes. So what you actually need is an optical microscope. So we will put this thing in optical microscope and see what they look like. As you can see these morphologies, these are the monolayer triangles that we can grow with the help of chemical vapor deposition. So optically we cannot figure out whether it's a monolayer or not. To detect it, we usually use Raman spectroscopy. Raman spectroscopy actually tells you the energy of the vibration with which the atoms are moving. So if it is a monolayer, you can see there are two peaks. These two peaks that belongs to MOS2. These are actually the in-plane vibration and out-of-plane vibration of these atoms in this system. So what happens is, if it is it's a monolayer or a bulk. If it is a bulk, the motion in this z direction will get affected because there are multi-layers on this system. Because of this, these peaks get shifted because they are not getting enough space to vibrate. Because of that, we can actually figure out whether it's a monolayer or bilayer or trilayer depending upon the position of the peaks. After confirming the monolayers, we can actually make these kind of devices over these monolayers to use them as a photo detector or transistors or other applications that we can perform these kind of 2D materials. So I'm just testing one of these kind of devices here. So now what we will do, because we already made these devices, we will check the photo response of one of such MOS2 based photo detector, that how it will respond to the light. So now what I am doing is that I'm applying a voltage, and because of in response of this voltage, the device is showing a current. The device is here and it is showing a current. So what will happen is that the moment I switch on the laser, you can see the instant enhancement in the current as we just switch on the laser, and if we switch on the laser, it immediately start going down. So that's how these photo detectors work, and this photo detector is actually based on these 2D materials.
As we have seen, MOS2 can be used as a photo detector. So here we are going to use MOS2 as a photoelectrocatalyst for any kind of reactions. Here we can use it as a catalyst for fuel cell, where we will use light and the potential at the same time to generate hydrogen, which can be used as a renewable sources of energy. So here you can see this is a 3 electrode setup, where this one is the working electrode where we have coated MOH2, and this is our platinum, which is working as a counter electrode, and this is our reference electrode. So let me show you how it happens. So my photoelectronic setup is ready. I'm going to add the electrolyte in my setup, and then I will perform the experiment. So my setup is done. So here you can see this is the MOH2 over my working electrode, and I have put the electrolyte. So now I am going to apply the potential. So now you can see that bubbles has started to generate. Now I am going to apply the laser. So, and you can see here the potential has started to increase. So here we have applied a constant potential, that is minus 1.5 volt, and for a time period of around 30 minutes. And you can see this one, it is giving some initial current, and where we have turned on the laser, then there is a increment in the current. That means that it increases the hydrogen generation, and when we have switched it off, the laser switched it off, then again it is going back to its previous state. That means that when we are using the light, then hydrogen generation is becoming more easy.